All right, today we're tackling one of the most destructive emotions out there, envy. In this explainer, we're going to get really practical. We're going to break down how you can not only spot this feeling, but completely defeat it by looking at it from a moral and, yeah, a spiritual perspective. So let's just start with this because it gets right to the point. Add envy to anything and it reduces you to ashes. Wow, I mean, that really sets the stage, doesn't it? This frames envy not as some small passing feeling, but as this incredibly corrosive force that can just burn down everything good in its path. So, how do we even begin to understand something that destructive? Well, the best way to think about it is like a cancer. It's this disease that silently just eats away at everything it touches. And a lot of the time, it grows completely unnoticed until the damage is already done. In this definition, it goes even deeper. It calls envy a spiritual cancer that turns good people into beasts. Think about that. This isn't just about you wanting what somebody else has. No, it's a fundamental corruption of who you are, of your character. It literally transforms you into something you were never ever meant to be. So what does that corruption actually look like in real life? We can think of them as the poisonous fruits of envy. It's when you're literally losing sleep because someone else succeeded, or you find yourself actively looking for flaws in other people just to bring them down a notch. It's when hearing good news about someone else feels like personal torture. And here's the thing, nobody is immune to this. I mean, take John the Baptist. This is the guy who announced Jesus to the world. But later, from a place of offense, he sent his own people to question him, asking, "Are you really the Messiah?" It's just a powerful, powerful reminder of how envy can creep in and poison even the most dedicated people. Now, the really tricky thing about envy is that it's so deceptive. It hardly ever just shows up and announces itself. Instead, it hides in plain sight, disguising itself as something that looks a lot better, like righteous concern or a desire for justice. Just think about this super common scenario. Okay, a colleague makes a tiny mistake. A single digit is wrong in an account number. Annoying, sure, but it's a pretty minor thing. Easy fix, right? But then, a month goes by and people are still talking about it. That's when you have to stop and ask, is this outrage really about the error? See, that kind of outsized reaction, that's a huge telltale sign that envy is in the mix, using a tiny issue as a scapegoat to vent all this bitterness. And this gets right to the core of it. Envy has zero interest in actually correcting or improving anything. Its real goal, its only goal, is to expose flaws and to tear other people down. It wants to make anything that looks spectacular seem totally ordinary, all because it's desperate to find some kind of personal peace. Okay, so we've seen how absolutely destructive envy is. The big question is, how do we fight it? Well, the good news is there's a really clear 5-step path to freedom. These are actionable cures that we can actually apply to our own lives. So here's our roadmap. First, we're going to embrace your uniqueness. Then, practice gratitude. Third is contend for growth. Fourth, submit to prayer. And finally, the big one, walk in love. Let's dig into each of these. The very first cure is all about shifting your focus from out there to in here. Instead of admiring things in other people that might not even be part of your own journey, the key is to recognize that your unique path, your specific gifts, that is the blessing. Comparison is the thief of joy, and celebrating your own uniqueness is how you get it back. All right, cure number 2 works almost like an immunization shot, and it's this: practicing gratitude. Seriously, when you start focusing on what you do have, it just changes the whole game. In fact, there's a really powerful idea here, that everything you are thankful for actually grows and multiplies. It's pretty hard to be envious when you're busy being grateful. Number 3 is to contend for personal growth. And this analogy just explains it perfectly. Think of yourself as a vessel. A small vessel can only hold so much, right? It makes any blessing seem small. But a large vessel, well, that is room for greatness. The whole idea is that as you increase your own capacity, your character, your skills, you create more space for good things in your life, and that leaves way less room for jealousy. And that kind of growth, it requires a huge shift in how you see things. It is so easy to envy someone's success, their crown, but we almost never see the struggle, the cross they had to carry to get there. Just remembering that helps us see success for what it is, a journey, not just a destination. Okay, our fourth cure gets right to the root of the problem. If we're saying envy is a spiritual affliction, then it makes sense that the prescription has to be spiritual too. Prayer is presented here as an active weapon, a tool you can use to actually fight and transform your own heart, to literally pray out the jealousy and the hate. And now we come to the fifth and final cure. And this one might just be the most powerful of them all. It's the big, overarching principle that takes all the others and makes them perfect. It's called the most excellent way. And what is that way? It's to walk in love. That's it. It's described as the bond of perfection because love is the one thing, the single element, that brings wholeness to everything else you do. That's what makes it the ultimate antidote to envy. This is exactly why love is so powerful. As the old saying goes, love never fails. It's considered the greatest of all virtues because it comes from a place of purity. So you can go through the motions of other good things with a totally envious heart, but genuine love, it purifies your motives right at the source. So what does that actually look like in our day-to-day lives? It just means applying love as the filter for every single action. You don't just lead, you lead in love. You don't just correct somebody, you rebuke them in love. And doing that, it transforms every single action into its highest and most effective form. So let's end with this one last challenging thought, a thought that could completely reframe how you see the success of other people. Instead of seeing it as a source of jealousy, what if you saw it as a preview, a sign of your own potential, a powerful source of inspiration for what's possible in your own life? Just think about that.